Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Kubey KU321. I hope I got that code correct. In any case, this knife is absolutely available. It is very inexpensive. I will link it right down below so that you can go check it out if you want to. Those links are down there for you guys if you choose to use them. Thanks so much to Kubey for sending these in, sending this in. They actually sent a bunch of knives. Thank you so much to them for sending this model in for me to take a look at. Thanks to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. There's a link for Patreon down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement. The KU321. Kubey, by the way, especially their less expensive stuff, they're super underrated right now. Some of the budget kings, Civivi and CGRB, of course, QSP just really knocking it out of the park, but an unsung hero. I mean, it's not like nobody knows who Kubey is, but they are really doing some excellent work in the budget category. So I would urge you to go check out, everything that they've got available if you're interested in this tier of knives and high quality. Let's go ahead and measure it. Overall length coming in at 7 1/4. Blade length coming in at it's under 3 inches. As long as we measure it from here. If you measure it from the bottom, it's going to be more. If you measure it, from here, then under 3 inches. Kind of wish that it was in an absolute safe zone for those of us who live in an area that has a 3-inch blade law. But okay, it's about 3 inches on the blade, and the cutting edge is about 2.9 inches. How about some size comparisons? Just a couple. The Ontario Wrap Model 1 and the Wrap Model 2, you can say it's definitely closer to the size of the Wrap 2. How about up against the Spyderco Para 3? There you go, close to this, in fact, exactly the same overall length as the Para 3. And last but not least, the Benchmade Bug Out, a little bit smaller than the Bug Out. Let's go ahead and measure thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. Real nice action on these. It is quite a bit thicker than the Para 3, but it is contoured, which I've always thought was a nice trade-off. I don't mind if it's a little bit thicker, if I get some handle comfort out of it. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3, you can see here, it's a little bit shorter, a tiny little bit shorter than the Para 3, definitely shorter than the PM2, nowhere near as tall. This is a front flipper, so there's nothing obtrusive coming out of the side of it. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. Get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about my tools. To my surprise, this is actually a T10 on the pivot, which is great. I love that. The bigger the head size, the better. Body screw, literally just one. I believe that's a T8. I actually didn't check it before the video, which is usually the case. That's a T7, sorry. Yeah, I didn't check it, so I believe that is a T8. Perfect. And your pocket clip screws are going to be T6. No big deal there. Very minimal hardware. Very easy to take apart considering this is just a liner lock, so that's really great. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness. I'm going to guess that's about 115 to 120 thousandths. Let's take a look. Yeah, about 120 thousandths. I'm sure my calipers are wrong. So that's nice. Materials we are looking at, in this case, this looks like G10, but I think it's actually micarta. I believe they have options for G10 and micarta. Sometimes when the micarta is black, it's really hard, especially when they polish it up. I think that's micarta. It might be G10. Sorry. For those of you with a more keen eye, you might be able to tell me if I'm wrong. In any case, micarta, G10, I know that they're not totally interchangeable, but they almost are, right? I think the knife world has convinced us that micarta is more premium than G10. It isn't. I doubt that neither of them hardly cost anything. G10 steel, steel for the liners and steel for the blade, coming in at 3.25 ounces, which is almost a perfect ounce and inch on this guy, just a hair over, so the ratios are quite nice, very impressive. What else do we need to do? I think that's pretty much it. Take a look at the inside real quick. You can see that the steel liners, the countersunk steel liners are milled out, very nice. Yeah, so Kubey does a great job of doing little things like at this price tier, which is the sub $50 tier, shaping and contouring the scales, giving it some interesting personality, right? Instead of just being a flat G10 scale or some flat, fiberglass reinforced nylon scale. They do interesting things. They almost always countersink the liners, which I think is great. The steel liners are in there. They're just countersunk, so they're not adding to the thickness of anything, even though this is kind of, the scales are overly thick. They also apply the same treatment to the blade. Kubey does a really nice polished, tumbled finish. They also knock the corners down really well. Just really like paying attention to little details like that. The front flipper tab is perfect. The other reason I've always said that front flippers are fine. Something that bothers me is when front flippers don't come with another means of deployment, and this knife has it. It's got a nice big opening slot, so you can just sort of, that was a bad example, you can sort of pinch it open, or you can do what I like to do, which is just the reverse flick. I think you can thumb flick these out. You kind of have to go a little bit sideways, but you can do it. The action is just phenomenal. Kubey knives, man, their action is just nice and smooth. It reminds me a lot of QSP, like the king of the action department in the budget world. Kubey is really up there. It's a nice open area here. Access to the liner lock is nice and cut out, so you can come in from the side. No double clutch or anything like that. If you're up high enough, then there's no worry of the blade coming down on your finger. You're going to catch it right here in the sharpening choil, which is great. This is just using D2 steel, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. I think that they would be wise to dip into the 14C28N stuff. Not saying that it's universally better. It is probably a more universally liked composition by people shopping in this territory. D2, of course, will have better edge retention. And I think that's pretty much it. I think 14C28N is tougher, tougher than D2. It's definitely more stainless because D2 is not a stainless composition. And 14C28N will also be easier to sharpen. So if you're more into edge retention, well, then you're going to like D2 better. If you're more into anything else, 14C28N. But I think that'd be wise to offer it here and there because, it'd give people options. The people who want 14C28N for one reason or another, right, if they're under the delusion that it's just that much more premium, it isn't. But, if they want it for that reason, then okay, right? And then, because it's like the only option you get, it seems like, with Kubey, unless I'm mistaken, I could be mistaken, I'm not a Kubey connoisseur, it seems like the only option is D2. So it'd be nice to have a different option, but D2 is absolutely fine. The edge is nice, very sticky, very slicey. We have a flat that carries out about 80% the length of the blade. I guess we're going to call this a modified draw point. I really hate that sort of sub-classification of sub-classifications of knives, right? It's like people who argue over like classification of metal. Actually, it's called crab core. Oh my God, shut up. Every time I see that, like people arguing over classification of subcategories. Now, I understand it is important to properly identify the blade. We can call it drop point. You can call it modified drop point. The irony is I'm taking time out of the review to talk about the thing that I hate talking about. So anyways, we have a flat that carries out about 85% the length of the blade. We have a nice tip. We have enough room to drop to a reasonably thin cutting edge, but they've just done a wonderful job sharpening it so I can tell it's ready to go. There's nothing in the cutting path. Yeah, gunk and stuff can get caught in that hole, but just wipe it out. Just paper towel, wipe it out, right? Blow it out, whatever you want to do. It says Kubey, and then it says, there's the designer's information. I'm honestly not familiar at all with that designer logo, but there it is. You can research it if you'd like. And then there's the D2 steel mark. I've always appreciated Kubey's logo on the pivot. That's nice. I don't think they need it on the blade. Just we can see it, right? Take a note from Civivi. Civivi puts it on the pivot and just leaves it there. Although Civivi's logo looks a lot like the Capsule Corp logo from Dragon Ball Z, which has always cracked me up. Yeah, I think put it on the pivot and keep it off the blade. Moving back here, we have a spot for the lanyard. We have a spot for the pocket clip for left-handed carry, so that's nice. There is a lanyard hole. It's not being prioritized at all, as it should always be. The lanyard hole should always be second place to the position of the pocket clip, so that's good. Pocket clip sits on top of the scale. I'd rather it be countersunk, but it's not. No big deal. The screws are recessed, so that's nice. Unfortunately, we have one of these goosebill clips. Same thing Civivi does. Drives me nuts. Absolutely nuts. Either straight, titanium milled and straight, which is kind of hard to do at this price point, or just drop and swoop like this. Much better. Much better. Not obtrusive. You don't have to fight. When you have a straight bill like that, you're going to fight the pocket seam. If it's thicker than this bill, you're going to fight it because it's going to be bumping into it. It's going to be booping you. This is just going to rise to meet whatever thickness of pocket seam, right? This is going to be a two-handed kind of, it's a dumb thing to nitpick, but it just bothers me a little bit. Should be smooth in and out of the pocket once you've got the lip over your pants because we've got a nice smooth contoured surface. Stop pin on this guy is located right here, and there is an insane amount of shouldering. It just gets buried in the blade tang, which is great. Lockup percentage is something like 45%. There is no blade play up, down, left, or right. There is no lock stick. There's no pivot lash. The D10 is kind of a thud. Here. Thud. But it does click. And there's no detent lash at all. This is a good knife. Pretty straightforward. This review didn't need to be super duper long. This is just straightforward. It's just a good option. The ergonomics are good. You're going to feel the pocket clip. We didn't really talk about ergonomics. Ergonomics are good, plenty comfortable, nice size, right? It's just a good general EDC option. It's just really well thought out. Kubey has a lot of this stuff. $48, I think it's plenty reasonable. QSP is still beating everybody in the wow, that's an amazing deal department. But Kubey's doing a really good job. I don't think they're quite getting the attention they deserve. I think they absolutely are just as high quality as your Civivis, definitely as high quality as your budget CJRBs, and your QSP stuff. Kubey's really good. This is definitely one you should check out. It comes in a lot of different colors. $48 isn't a bad price, but there's stuff out there that you can get for 40 or less that is the same quality. So, it's like, oh, well, $8, right? Who cares? Good price. This knife is going to go in my cheap knives I like playlist as well as my recommended knives playlist. It's just a straightforward, good EDC knife. Another nice offering from Kubey. Thanks again for sending this in for me to review. This is one of those knives that I will likely end up giving away on a live stream. So if you're new to my channel and you didn't know, most of the stuff that I get to keep, I just give away, right? It's most of the content on this channel is actually provided by viewers, and those knives go back to my viewers. But when a manufacturer like Kubey sends me a knife, that's great. $48 knife is, I'm still going to say what I think, but I end up giving it away because I don't really have a reason to hoard this stuff. So if you're new to my channel, subscribe for daily knife content and check out my live streams on the weekends. You just might win a free knife. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.